Welcome again to another news segment on Venezuela Insider. Today is November 15, and since we are here on a beautiful city in Riga, Latvia, and the weather is, well, it is what it is, I decided, to record today al fresco. So yesterday we didn't got any particular news, nothing interesting, so it will be just empty analysis. That's why I decided not to make any video. If anything important happens, please follow me on Twitter, and I will have for you, any breaking news. Today has been, somehow interesting regarding the news about Venezuela. A couple of news. One is the most important is the one that we were expecting. That is that finally the USS Gerald Ford, the most advanced and biggest aircraft carrier from the US, is actually arriving to the Caribbean theater of operations, and the US Navy itself released a statement saying that the Ford package group is actually under the responsibility of the US Southern Command. That, of course, is the one commanding the military operations in the Caribbean. Okay, yeah, very right. Okay, just playing here. I'm not the best cameraman in the world. Okay, so it's already announced, the USS Gerald Ford and the whole package, the destroyers and so on, and all of the assets of this package. It will be joining the operation that, of course, we have already. I already did a couple of videos explaining the rest of the assets: the Arleigh Burke class destroyers, the Ticonderoga class destroyer, submarines, the F-35s, the base in Puerto Rico, and and all that jazz. Yeah, I don't want to have some music here. Okay, that's the biggest news today. We got a couple of other news now coming from Venezuela. This one is from Reuters, so you decide if you want to take the word for it. But according to Reuters, they got a report on how it's shaping up the Venezuelan military with this pending military threat from the US. Well, according to Reuters and the intel that they manage, the own Venezuelan generals said that they couldn't last 2 hours on a conventional war with the United States. Now, we don't need to be military experts to know that. We know that the US not only has the most powerful military today and in history, but actually, according to the experts, the US military can take the rest of the other militaries combined. So Venezuela is no match for that. Maduro's Venezuela, at least. And the morale is low, the sentiment is actually very low. Also, if you want to pull like something like a resistance, kind of like Vietnam, you need the support of the local population, something that is not happening today, to say the least. Other thing the Reuters mentioned is that if that, and some people say when, the US initiates kinetic military strikes inside Venezuela, the strategy of Maduro's military will be guerrilla warfare. And well, this is kind of like the war on the streets. That's what they will attempt to do. And makes a lot of sense, since that they cannot face the U.S. on a conventional war, and also the possibility of a guerrilla warfare. Something with significant impact is gonna be, uh, yeah, well, not a military expert, so may tell me. But apparently that will be the plan. So doing some guerrilla warfare, maybe accommodating a little bit the US, but on that particular scenario, assuming that what Reuters says is correct, and we don't have particularly any reason to believe otherwise, sounds credible. Well, that is, it's gonna be a little bit uncomfortable, but not necessarily, a Vietnam like many people are saying, or Syria, or Afghanistan, or fill in the blank with any particular Middle Eastern country. That's not gonna happen. And now the other thing is, they are assuming that the US not only will strike, but also will put boots on the ground, according to this report of Reuters. Which, well, I don't know, not a military expert, if that's gonna happen, but everything, all of the open source intelligence that we have right now indicates that, yeah, that's where things are headed. Some sort of military kinetic action in Venezuela. So, well, of course, that's why we're doing this. Basically play by play every single day on what is gonna happen. On other news that we got is something this time comes from the Kremlin, from Russia itself, from Russia with love, if I may. The foreign affairs minister, the famous or infamous, as you want to call it, Sergei Lavrov, says that actually he hasn't received any particular request from the Venezuelan government regarding, they're saying that they are requiring military cooperation and defense cooperation, things like that. Well, that is actually, pretty strange. I'm not an expert on Russian politics, but I believe Lavrov is kind of like the second man in charge after Putin. But that contradicts the statements actually we covered here last week from first Peskov, the speaker from the Kremlin, and also one of the main guys on the Russian Congress, the Duma, saying that indeed they will support Venezuela militarily on defense, things of that nature. And apparently they are saying they're thinking on sending, missiles, things like that. We got the plane belonging to the Wagner group. So it's very, strange. Maybe it's something, maybe it's a problem at home with their political communication or something, or their strategy, or their backpedaling on their first strategy. So honestly, I don't know, just reporting here the news. And honestly, I don't know how consequential will be the Russian involvement on this conflict, or even if will be any Russian involvement. So, and lastly, got up the president of Ecuador, Daniel Noboa, mentioned that he will be joining the opposition leader and Nobel Peace Prize winner Maria Corina Machado to receiving the Peace Prize Award in Oslo on December 10. Now, why is that important? Because remember, the opposition leader Machado is hiding somewhere in Venezuela in order to not to be captured by by Maduro's authorities. Okay, so, and then Maria Corina Machado herself replied the message saying that yes, she will be receiving her Nobel Peace Prize and yeah, say N says, second the idea of Novoa that yeah, we're gonna go together. Yeah, let's pick up the award. Now, what makes it interesting is that in order to do that, basically the complex situation that we have right now in Venezuela must be resolved before in order for that to happen. And December 10 is just less than a month away, so things are getting interesting. Yeah, like it or hate it. So wanna see what happens. So thank you again for your attention, and we'll see each other on the next video.